Breaking overnight, Israel's security cabinet has approved plans to expand military operations in Gaza, which one official describes as the, quote, conquest of the territory and remaining there. Sources telling us the plan also includes possibly resuming humanitarian aid into Gaza, which stopped weeks ago when the first phase of the ceasefire ended. Joining me now is CNN military analyst, retired Colonel Cedric Leighton. Thank you so much for being here in the morning, bright and early. Let me first ask you about what it means for Israel to expand its operations. I mean, much of Gaza is already completely destroyed, but to also then decide that they will stay there. What might that mean, and how long do you think that will be the case?
Yeah, this is really a strange development, Sarah. Good morning. In a way that, because you mentioned the destruction that has already occurred in Gaza, and as we watch these pictures, we have to realize that about over 90% of all standing structures in Gaza have been destroyed. So what the Israelis are doing is they're going in and they're saying that they're going to not only cut Gaza once again through one of the corridors, but they plan to maintain a big long-term presence there. This may be a ploy just for the negotiations to get them started again, the hostage negotiations, but it doesn't sound like that because Prime Minister Netanyahu and others in his cabinet have basically said that the first priority is to destroy Hamas, quote unquote. And what they're trying to do here is by figuring that they could control the territory. If they control that territory, then they will have a greater likelihood of destroying Hamas as an organization. I think the jury is out on that. I think it is probably a grave strategic mistake because this is going to take a long time for the Israelis to stay there. And it might be a war without end if they do that. And that's a very dangerous place to be.
There's so much destruction. There is so much suffering on the part of Palestinians who are still there in Gaza trying to figure out where to live, how to get food. And the UN agencies are saying they can't go in while all of this is happening. They want full access, not just fettered access. What happens now? They're saying that people are near starvation again.
Yeah, that's right, Sarah. And so if the UN doesn't get access, and let's say the Israelis control all the humanitarian aid distribution, it really will be very difficult, I think, for the Israelis to avoid having a famine in Gaza. So if that happens, then you have a humanitarian disaster on your hands that is even worse than what we already see. And what we see is really bad. The UN, if it gets unfettered access to this, will have a better chance of distributing the aid to the people who need it. Yes, there are concerns that the Israelis have about some of the aid being pilfered and some of the aid being basically stolen by Hamas and others. But that is kind of the price you have to pay in order to get things into the people who actually need them.
Yeah, it's devastating what we're seeing the civilians deal with over these many, many months and now years. Let me ask you about this. Let's turn to Yemen and what happened with the Houthis sending a strike very close to Israel's airport. What can that tell us about their capabilities? And Israel's response is it will respond.
Whoa! Yeah, Sarah, when you look at what they say happened here, when you see what the Yemeni Houthis are talking about, they talk about having a hypersonic missile that they used in this particular case. Now, we don't know if that is true or not, but according to the Houthi declaration, what they said was that this was a hypersonic missile that had maneuverability, and it traveled at 16 times, or had the capability of traveling at 16 times the speed of sound. This would be in concert with the kinds of missiles that the Russians say they're producing in the hypersonic realm. So if the Houthis did this, and if they had a missile like this, then it would probably be the kind that would be able to evade Israeli air defenses, air and missile defenses. The Israeli system that was used to try to intercept this was known as the Arrow 3, which is their long-range missile interceptor system, and that is a system that is designed for normal missiles, but hypersonic missiles are basically beyond its technical capabilities, at least as the system is currently configured. So the Israelis are going to have to change the way they do their missile defenses if this in fact turns out to be a hypersonic missile, but it points not only to an Iranian connection, but also a possible Russian connection.
Colonel Cedric Layton, it is always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your great analysis this morning.